How is it going, Trailblazers? So just a few hours ago, we finally got the complete kit for Aventurine's brand new 5-star form, which is now officially called AVENTURINE WAVEFLAIR. And I'm guessing that most of you guys are really excited about pulling for him, right? So today in this video, we're mainly going to discuss his full kit in detail and how he functions. Along with this, I'll also discuss his traces, light cone, and his best teammates as well. But before we begin, let me just give a quick reminder that this is only the very first version of Aventurine's kit, meaning it's likely to receive plenty of changes throughout the beta. So please make sure to take everything with a grain of salt. With that out of the way, let's jump straight into it. First of all, let's take a look at his overall role because I think that's the easiest way to understand this character. Unlike his original preservation version, WaveFlair is a full offensive DPS that revolves around the brand new elation mechanic. His entire kit focuses on building resources called fervor and punchlines before converting them into powerful quantum elation attacks. What's especially interesting is that he can either be played inside dedicated elation teams or as the centerpiece of your team if he's your only elation character. So let's break everything down. Starting with his basic attack, there's honestly not much to talk about. It simply deals quantum damage based on 100% of his attack to a single enemy, so you'll mainly use it whenever you need to generate skill points. Most of his damage clearly comes from the rest of his kit. Now moving on to his skill. It deals 240% quantum damage to all enemies while granting 2 punchlines and 4 fervor. These 2 resources are the core of his entire gameplay since almost every part of his kit either generates or consumes them. Next up is his ultimate. It deals 400% quantum damage to all enemies, grants 5 punchlines, 8 fervor, and increases his speed by 25% for 3 turns. The speed buff is especially valuable because more speed means more turns, which naturally leads to more fervor, more punchlines, and more elation attacks. So rather than simply being a damage button, his ultimate also helps accelerate his entire rotation. Now let's talk about probably the most unique mechanic in his kit, his elation skills. Whenever he activates Cheers. To the Blazing Summer, he deals quantum elation damage to every enemy before following it up with 10 additional random hits. After consuming fervor, this upgrades into all-in. To the Blazing Summer, which works the same way but gains 1 extra hit for every point of fervor consumed. The more fervor you've saved up, the more devastating this attack becomes. Because these extra hits can target random enemies, it should perform well in both AoE fights and against single bosses once the smaller enemies have been defeated. Now let's move on to his talent, because this is what ties everything together. Whenever teammates attack, Aventurine gains 1 fervor and 1 punchline, with fervor stacking up to 30. Once he reaches 10 fervor, he automatically casts Cheers. To the Blazing Summer, consuming 20 punchlines. Afterwards, his next elation skill is upgraded into all-in. In other words, every ally action helps charge Aventurine's biggest attacks. On top of that, while his special certified banger state is active, both his skill and ultimate deal additional damage, giving his normal abilities an extra boost as well. Next up is his technique. Before battle, Aventurine dashes forward while blocking incoming attacks. Once combat begins, he immediately deals quantum damage to every enemy while also starting with 2 fervor and 20 certified banger. This lets him begin building momentum right from the start instead of spending the first few turns ramping up. Now let's discuss his bonus traces because they're honestly very impactful. His first trace increases his elation by 30% once he reaches 160 speed. Then for every point of speed above that, he gains even more elation, making speed one of his most valuable stats. The second trace changes depending on your team composition. If another elation character is present, Aventurine immediately gains 100% elation. However, if he's your only elation character, ally attacks instead generate additional certified banger and punchlines while increasing Aha's speed. This allows him to function effectively both inside dedicated elation teams and as a standalone carry. Finally, his third trace grants 48% critical damage. Whenever teammates use basic attacks, skills, ultimates, or follow-up attacks, AVENTURINE also gains additional fervor stacks, once again rewarding teams that attack frequently. Now let's talk about his signature light cone. It grants 18% critical rate. Whenever AVENTURINE uses an elation skill, he gains hype, increasing his speed by 20%. If the elation skill is different from the previous one, he also gains trend, increasing his elation by another 36%. Finally, at the beginning of every wave, or after using 3 elation skills, he restores 1 skill point to the team. Overall, this light cone boosts his critical rate, speed, elation scaling, and skill point economy, making it an excellent fit for his kit. Now let's move on to AVENTURINE's Eidolons. As always, these are still part of the beta, so everything here is subject to change. His first Eidolon grants 24% all-type resistance penetration while also allowing him to immediately trigger cheers to the Blazing Summer whenever he gains 10 fervor, significantly improving both his damage output and overall rotation. His second Eidolon increases his maximum fervor from 30 to 50, while also granting an additional 2 fervor whenever he uses his skill, ultimate, or an elation skill. This lets him build resources much faster while also storing more fervor for stronger all-in activations. Eidolon 4 is a straightforward damage boost, allowing AVENTURINE to ignore 18% of the enemy's defense. Finally, Eidolon 6 grants 25% additional elation damage. After using his ultimate twice, every future elation skill automatically becomes all-in to the Blazing Summer, and outside of AHA Instant, these upgraded attacks no longer consume fervor. This greatly improves both his consistency and overall damage output. Overall, his Eidolons look very strong, but since we're still in the early beta, I'd avoid making any pull decisions until we see how they change over the coming weeks. Finally, let's talk about teammates. Based on this first version of his kit, AVENTURINE clearly wants teammates that attack frequently since almost every ally action helps generate additional fervor or punchlines. As a result, he works very well in follow-up attack teams with characters like Ash Vale and Morton X Blade, as well as in elation teams with characters like Yao Guang and Sparksy, since those also attack very frequently between character turns through their respective elation skills. That said, it's still far too early to determine his definitive best team because the elation archetype is completely new, and future characters could easily reshape his optimal lineup. Overall though, I have to say this first version of his kit looks really interesting. Rather than being another straightforward DPS, AVENTURINE WAVEFLAIR revolves around building resources over time before unleashing explosive elation attacks. His gameplay looks fast-paced, he's constantly rewarded for teammate actions, and his entire kit has a satisfying build-up and payoff playstyle. Of course, all of these numbers are still subject to change throughout the beta, so don't get too attached to any of the current values just yet. But from a design perspective, he's already looking like one of the more unique damage dealers we've seen in quite a while. So that's pretty much everything we currently know about AVENTURINE WAVEFLAIR's complete kit. If you found the info in this video helpful, feel free to give it a like, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel in order to stay up to date with all the latest honkaistarrail news, discussions, and character guides. That's it for now, so I'll see you guys in the next video.